pjnet.tv. It is 9 East Coast, and we are interrupting this program to run the correct bumper. We are recording, we are streaming, we have a chat room waiting, we have Dell standing by. Let's switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening. Welcome back. This is pjnet.tv, and this is Tuesday night at about 9:30 on the East Coast, and that is the time that we bring to this stage the one and only Dell Didway. We've already had one from the great state of Ohio. We're going to do it again, and Dell blogs at delldidway.com. I will put that on the screen because if you didn't know Dell personally and know how to spell it, you probably would not get to his website. So delldidway.com is on your screen. Dell blogs there every Tuesday, and it's always, I'm not a big reader of blogs, Dell, but I'll always, well, it's my job to read yours, but I think if it weren't, I'd read it anyway. And I really appreciate, you are speaking more to me in your blog today than you may realize.
Well, and to myself. So again, thanks for having us on. Thanks for everybody out there watching, listening. I know I have a big competition tonight, so I want to try to go see some of that myself tonight.
We'll keep it brief because many people have nothing better to do than watch a debate, and they're having to watch this instead. So I was not a big believer in words. Okay. I am a believer in video. I'm a believer in images, and words would have been far down my list. But as I began to interact more with you and some of the wonderful people at Serious Writer, I began to realize that words do matter. I reflected on the verse that says, "In the beginning was, well, the Word."
Yeah, actually, I thought about putting that in there, but just kind of didn't go in that direction. But words often are weapons anymore, and they can be detrimental. They can inflict damage on people, and some of it's irreversible. So we have to be careful what we say, and words are it's what I make my living on. So
well, your blog takes a different, a little bit different trajectory in describing that words can, in just a few seconds, you documented some catastrophic cases of people, either a hot mic or just whatever, ruined a illustrious career, a pristine career, up until a certain point, and in 5 seconds.
Yeah, less than that, actually.
It's all gone.
And I hate that because he's very good, talented. And I hope he makes a comeback. I hope people give him a chance, but it's going to be a while based on today's climate and how offended people get. Mm-hmm. So, if somebody said something to me, I've been called names before. Good grief, I've called horrible things just on Twitter. And, I don't get offended. I just block them. I don't debate them. But yeah, 3 seconds of 5 words really has ruined one of the most promising sportscasters out there. It wasn't so much a hot mic, but he didn't realize he was on the air. So it was an open live mic, and they came back from a commercial break, and he didn't realize that. So and he said something he should have not said. That's something you might, if you want to say that's something to say just back at your hotel room or somewhere else, not on live television. So yeah, and just again, he's fantastic career, a great legend, great family, and 5 words in 3 seconds has undone all that. So words, what you say and how you say them. And I didn't have enough time to get into all the hypocritical examples that people say and do, and it's just not enough time. I'd still be writing, I think, if I got into all that. But there's funny things. I love the example during our wedding. We heard it. We have it on video. It's hilarious. It's it was ill timed, and I think he was just trying to make conversation and tells the lady in line, "I didn't know you were pregnant," and She said, and you gotta know this guy. I mean, he's the most sincere guy you'd ever meet in your life. He goes, "Oh, I didn't know you were pregnant." And she's like, "I'm not." And not a good thing to say to a female. And that didn't go over well. So words, didn't know you were pregnant. 5 words. So oftentimes it's something, just a little comment, a snide comment, a remark, or something. I mean, I had a gazillion of them. Like I could have put down there things I've said that are embarrassing. So in fact, I'm talking to, there's one author I'm talking to. She's talking about a manuscript dealing with certain words and what they mean. And it's kind of interesting because words can really inflict a lot of damage on people. And even if you don't mean it, and they're out there, once they're out there, there's no, I mean, with me, if I have a mistake on my blog, I can go in and update it and change it. It's gone. You can't undo something you say. It's out there.
That's the problem with words. A manuscript you can edit. There's tasks that we can undo and redo, and we can correct mistakes. But once that genie gets out of the bottle, you really can't put them back in. Now the good news, before we leave the bad news, I think sometimes people don't mean bad. They're just not thinking. Okay, and it's kind of like the one you mentioned. I didn't know you were pregnant, but after my wife and I had been married some 10 years at church, it was not uncommon for like, well, when's the children going to come along?
Yeah, I know.
That's just an insensitive thing to say.
Because you may not be able to have them. I know. So
Right.
people, they want to take up space and dead air, and they just want to say something. And oftentimes that's the worst time to say something, is when you feel like you have to say something. And something I've learned over the years in my professional sales training is sometimes silence is good.
Well, in sales, they say once you've made your presentation, shut up.
Yeah.
Every word you say, you're buying it back.
Well, because sometimes that silence can cause pressure, and that's good. So
it allows them to make a decision.
That awkwardness is good sometimes.
It is
A lot of times. I mean, it was we had a pastor several years ago. He's deceased now. I mean, just the sweetest guy in the world, and he was preaching one time, and he got on he got on the topic he probably shouldn't have got. He kind of started going down a road he shouldn't have been on, and he ended up saying something that was just, it's one of the funniest lines ever. And he turned all red. His face turned red, and
I think I know the one you're talking about, where he was trying to say, "Pitch your tents." Did you see that?
No.
Go get on YouTube and do a search on pitch your tents, but instead use the word pinch and don't use tents. And a pastor, it was just all shades of red. Those are called mistakes. Those are embarrassing mistakes.
Those are fine. We were in a service one time, and there was the folks. This people's last name. This is a long time ago. My wife and her family were singing. Their last name was Butts, Butts. But, and the gentleman's name was Harry, and he said, "All you folks with hairy butts, stand up." So, yeah, you had to be there.
You didn't make it up, did you?
No, I was there. No, that was legitimate. So. That's the way it happened.
If I had a name Harry Butts, I would change it to Ralph
something.
Butts or something. I would use my middle name.
And the gentleman who said that, after he said it, realized that he just wanted to crawl under a rock, and he was like, "Oh my gosh," So anyway, so words, and how you say it. It's sometimes it's not what they say, sometimes how you say it. If you say it derogatory, say it with a zing on somebody. I've just learned over the years. Back when I was 20s and 30s, I didn't exercise this enough. But sometimes just shut up. I keep my mouth shut more times now than I have in the past, because I don't feel necessary. I know I want to say things, but I do hold back because I've seen damage words can cause. I mean, you find it's hard to believe, but when I was in junior high school, I had a very noticeable stuttering problem. to the point where I rarely talked because I couldn't get words out. I couldn't get my thoughts out. I would panic. I couldn't. There was this one girl I wanted to call. Her name was Holly, so I called her. I couldn't get her name out. I would say is, and I would just hang up because I couldn't talk. I had a terrible, noticeable stuttering problem. That's why I played ball all the time. That's why I was a good ball player, because I didn't have to talk on the field, and so I practiced and I spent hours practicing because that's where I felt comfortable. I didn't have to talk. And that's where I felt secure, and that's where I felt accepted because I didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
But I would get in class, and it would be horrible. I mean, it would be embarrassingly horrible for me. And my friends knew it, and everybody close to me knew it. But, that problem's about 98% gone now. And
now, was it all the time, or just when anxiety, like talking to a girl or asking her out, or was it all the time?
It was all the time.
Oh, okay.
It was constant. I rarely talked. And how I got over it was, oddly enough, I was a newspaper reporter, and my father at that time was going through he was dying, basically. He had lung cancer, and he was dying. And a real dear friend of mine, she's passed now. Her name was Jan. She was a general manager of our local radio station. And she knew the circumstances. I was like 45 minutes away, and I wasn't getting down there enough, things like that. So she calls me one day at the paper. She says, Dale, I have, how's your dad? And I said, well, he's not doing well, and he's just got a few weeks left, and I'm not getting down there enough. And she's out of the blue said, I have a news director position open. Do you want it? And it was radio. And I said, Jan, that's probably not probably a good idea for me. And so we went down there, and she gave me some exercises to do, and lo and behold, they worked. And she had me read the news. She had me do some demos and read with a pencil in my mouth. And then I would put some marbles in my mouth and talk and read. And that helped me tremendously. And the putting the pencil in your mouth and trying to read a script really helped me to enunciate words. It helped me to relax, and it was a great training tool. And then I was news director at a radio station after having a horrible stuttering problem. And sometimes I knew when I would struggle, mm-hmm. and if I knew a certain script I was going to struggle with, I would go tape it, mm-hmm. And get it out. And then, I don't have that problem anymore. I mean, it's probably 98% gone. There's a couple of times when I notice it coming on, and I'm good at hiding it, and I'm good at mm-hmm. avoiding the words and the sounds that mm-hmm. led to that stuttering problem, and I just don't go there because I know I'll have problems with it.
I find this incredibly difficult to believe. Okay, I really do.
No, I believe it.
Dell, as a professional, when I produce these programs later, the highlights, when you can see the vocals on a spectrograph, you can tell the good speakers from the inexperienced. You're good. You're good, Dell. You're good. Well, your words are, you can tell where sentences end and begin visually, on that spectrograph. And your thoughts are usually short, and they hit hard. They're to the point, where a lot of people, including myself, tend to take detours, and I'll go around and around, and I'll get there, but you got to hang in there. Go ahead.
If you knew me in junior high and early high school, you would say there's no way he'll ever be on camera talking or behind a microphone talking. Yeah. So, yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Revenge is the sweetest success, or success is the sweetest revenge, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have anything to anybody to revenge on that. It was a problem I had, and it was something I struggled with.
You slew the dragon. I promise you did. You slew it. It's dead. And it wasn't in your blog, but it did come into my mind. Folks, our language, English, is a relatively poor construct of symbols. Zig Ziglar used this example, and it's better if you do this visually, but I'll try to do it audibly. Let's take the words I, did, not, say, she, stole, the money. You can take those same words in the same order, and by placing your emphasis at different places, that can mean 7 different things.
Yeah, I mean,
Words
when you
matter.
put emphasis on
How you
words
say
matter.
it, how you
Yeah.
say the words.
Yeah, what you stress and what you emphasize can turn the sentence completely around. So, and I've always said this. I've said it to my wife. I said it to a lot of folks. It's not what you say. Sometimes it's how you say it.
How you say it.
It's the tone. It's the tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I have learned over the years, these last 5 or 6 or 7 years, I've really grown in choosing my words and choosing them wisely. Except when I write politics, I really don't mince words at all. I'm very truthful.
I don't
In
think
my
you
opinion.
care. Yeah.
Now, when I write politics, I'm just trying to make a point that if you don't agree with me, then you got problems
Yeah. Well, yeah.
because I'm right.
It usually you are. Always you are. But but everybody can be wrong if they want to be. The illustration, I think, that in the recent journey in PJNet, in working with so many authors and so many writers, is that words are meaning, and it's hard for me to imagine that I didn't realize this, but I had never thought about written words. It was always spoken words. And it dawned upon me one day, the words that coaches say at halftime can completely change a ball game.
Oh yeah, yeah. They can. They can motivate. They can inspire. They can debilitate. They can do a lot of things.
I mean,
So
it's very profound. Teams that were getting their butts spanked in the first half come out the second half a different team.
Yeah, words and adjustments. Yeah,
Well, there's some
tend to go
adjustment.
hand in hand.
Well, plus you
Yeah.
break the momentum. There are other factors, but I assure you, the great coaches are the ones who can inspire at halftime
Yeah.
with the
Well,
right words.
we had a coach my freshman year. Coach Carell was a great guy. Very low keyed gentleman. I mean, good coach. He reminded you a lot like Tom Landry. That demeanor. He
Okay.
just never lost his cool. And so we were going. It was towards the end of the season. We were going to go out to play one of our rivals, who was always good. They were always a good team. And and in the paper, you had all these pigskin prognosticators who would pick, their pick, and I did that later, and they would give their, who's going to win and why, right? 2 or 3 sentences, and everybody was picking Northwest, which was fine. I mean, I would have picked Northwest, and one of them had a description. He said Northwest over East, or Northwest tougher than East, and we got in the locker room, and we could tell something's wrong with him. He's just not acting normal. And we get up to our huddle and we get up by the chalkboard, and he has that paper in his hands, and he looks it up, and his face is getting red. He's getting hot. He's getting upset, and he goes down. He starts reading these to us, and he comes to that one, and he says, "Tougher than we are." And he got so emotional, which was unlike him. And he said they might be bigger, they might be faster, they might be stronger, they might be better. And then he just screamed, and he hits that chalkboard, and it busts into a gazillion pieces. And he says, they are not tougher than we are. And we said some other choice words but yeah, he says, I'll be daggone if they're not tougher than we are. And he hits this chalkboard, and it just shatters. And we're just like, oh my gosh. And we went out and won that game. And we shouldn't have even been on the same field with them. So, words, yeah, they can really inspire you. And I try to do that with my blogs. I try to inspire, I try to encourage, and sometimes I'm good. I hit the mark, sometimes I don't. So, and you mentioned the word. I mean, here's the word. Here's the written word. This is all the inspiration you're ever going to need is right there. So, and people say God talks to them. I believe that, but he doesn't talk to me every day, so I can read what he says every day. So he does talk to me through the written word, and I encourage people and challenge people Choose your words wisely. The best thing to do sometimes is just be quiet and then read the word and get inspired that way. That's the best advice at this age I can give anybody. Choose your words, listen, and read God's word, and then you'll be okay.
It almost sounds too simple, but it's comprehensive because you're dealing with words coming in and words going out. A former pastor of mine once said, think about what you're going to say. And if what you're going to say is not an improvement on silence, you should consider not saying it.
I love silence. I really love silence. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, we'll be driving if for a long trip, and it might be 45 minutes. Well, I don't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean anything is wrong. Sometimes I just like silence. I think a lot. So,
well, Dell, I appreciate you sharing. I never would have known, and I'm still processing this stuttering high schooler who had a hard time with words. But it's amazing well, put it this way. Moses had a speech impediment. Remember that? Or at least he claimed it. He used it as an excuse, whether it was true or not. But none of us, I think that we have an enemy that is, he's referred to as an accuser. But I think that encompasses, he's a discourager. He points out our weaknesses. He points out our flaws, our deficiencies, and we buy into it. And I don't think God thinks of us that way. And I think that if we read the Word, as you point out, God loves us, and God has never called the equipped, in my opinion, but He's always equipped the called.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right there. So, yeah, you can believe it when I tell you my junior high years and even, my grade school years, I had a horrible problem getting words out. So I just wouldn't talk. And it was so, it wears on you.
We start buying into it.
You're embarrassed and you're humiliated, and I had good friends, but I could talk some, but it was not uncommon for me to just quit talking because I couldn't get words out, and I get excited and I get frustrated, and it got worse. So I just, that's why I learned to like silence.
Well, Dell, thank you for your good words tonight. As we do on every Tuesday night, you're always very faithful to share with us. We always are inspired and encouraged, and we appreciate your ministry. Can't wait to do this again next week, but I think we all have some plans we'd like to carry out. So we'll call tonight. Appreciate it, Dell.
Have a good night. Thank you.
All right. Dell Didway right here on pjnet.tv, coming to you live from the Eagle's Nest studio. Folks, this will actually wrap it up for me this week. Tomorrow night and Thursday night's programs have been pre-recorded. They will air at the normal time, and we appreciate those who were cooperative in pre-recording and all that. Now it's time to go. I know many of you would like to watch the debates that are in progress, no doubt by now. Before I leave, let me quickly ask you to ask yourself two questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And number two, when was that? It is my hope, and I challenge you to never be satisfied with your answers to either of those two questions.